Have you ever wondered what it would feel like doing good for the world? Have you ever wondered how that could be done in a sustainable manner? Emprogage is doing both of those things, using the core values of empathy, proactivity, and engagement. If you want to find out more, or if you want to join us in making the world a better place, go to emprogage.sc and let's co-create a better world. Very simply put, soldiers are trained to do one thing and one thing only. It's shooting their enemies. I know it's very simply put, but for the premise, I'd like us to move on with that statement. As soldiers train, they're training a lot of different things in order to be able to shoot their enemies. They're training the ability to recognize their enemies and apart them from their friends or civilians. They also train their reflexes and their aim. But it's all for one single goal. It's to shoot their enemies. That's the solution they have to their problem. In the series of Westworld, there's a great scene where a number of soldiers freeze up a couple of meters from a glass door. The door is frosted so they can't see the other side of it, but they can hear gunfire and screams. As I said, they freeze up and they just look at the glass door. All of a sudden, 5 raging bulls are coming through the doors, smashing up the glass, splintering everywhere. The bulls take charge at the soldiers. Now, the soldiers are faced with a lethal problem. As they're trying to solve this, they have a decision to make, and they go with shooting the bulls. In this particular case, that's not a very great solution, since the bulls are at full speed. They catch all of the soldiers, and the soldiers die. The shots have very little effects on bulls at full speed at close range. You're listening to Caspian with a riff on generalists and specialists. What this situation can teach us is that a specialized mind, in this case the soldiers, with the specialization of shooting, isn't always as great as we expect it to be. A specialized mind and a specialized skill is highly valuable when you have solutions that are similar. In the event of an actual war, human to human, or human to machine, the soldiers are a lot more capable to handle the problem than, for example, a circus artist. But when the soldiers are faced with a problem that's not solvable with their solution, when their hammer doesn't fit the nail because the nail is a screw or a mutter, they become stunned. And they're completely useless in those situations. The specialist is great at using one single tool to solve their problem. They've found a problem so interesting to them that they've specialized to solve that particular problem. At times, that specialization can be useful in various events. The soldier would probably be pretty good at hunting as well. The soldier would probably be pretty good at shooting clay doves, but they wouldn't be very good in a chess game, because if you shoot a chess game down, you're not going to win the game. Of course, as I said, this is a heavily simplified version of the whole dilemma and the whole dichotomy between specialists and generalists. I believe that the spectrum between generalists, and specialists is just that. It's a spectrum. You're never just a specialist unless you're a computer designed to play a chess game. And you're never just a generalist because you probably have an interest that peaks far above all of your other interests and competences. Yet I find it interesting to talk about the scale between specialists and generalists, because you're probably somewhere on that scale. Regardless of whether or not you have that one single skill, as a chess computer would have, or if you have equal amounts of interests, but in various fields. Generally speaking, a specialist is someone who's specialized or had a particular interest or a skill in a specific field. Tiger Woods is a great example of a specialist who's very specialized at playing golf. He's great at it, but he's not as great in accounting. A generalist, on the other hand, has a lot and a variety of interests. And they use those interests as skills, and they use what they learn in one field and apply it in another. Often generalists are found in management positions, as they more easily can have a full-scale view and they can have a macro perspective on the organization, on the work that needs to be done. A great example of a generalist would be Da Vinci, who found out about all the things he was interested in and used them in various different fields. He both painted beautiful paintings, but he also invented a helicopter. He usually applied what he learned in the different fields to one another. He applied design from his paintings into the science he was interested in, and he probably used the science in his paintings as well. I want to take a leap here and move from just looking at specialists and generalists to looking at them in a context, namely the context of the future of work. I've given a lot of thought to what the future of organizations and what the future of individual work is going to look like. With the rise of platforms as Fiverr, as well as the rise of organizations that are based on teal principles, for example, it looks like work is going to be organized in a very different way from what we're used to at the moment. Looking at specialists and generalists are usually winning in this sort of current organizational perspective. What I want to talk about is how these two perspectives are going to do in the future. For example, there are a lot of voices talking about gig economies and people being self-employed. In that sense, me as an individual, I have to market towards companies, toward other individuals with my competence. In that sense, I will need to have a specialization. I will need to have actual competence to do a kind of work. If I only have one competence, or only one competence that I'm aware of, I can go on Fiverr very easily. I'm great at transcribing. I can do it for $5 an hour. But what the gig economy states, and what we have to learn about the gig economy, is that I, as an individual, I have to market myself as a transcriber, as a video editor, as whatever. I, as a matter of fact, have to be a generalist in order to survive the gig economy. If I want to be self-employed, I might need to be a purebred generalist. I might need to have all the competences of a general assistant, but I'll also need to be able to market myself. Of course, I will have abilities and skills that are specialized. I might be a bit better at Adobe Premiere than I am at writing emails. Yet, I have the competence of writing emails, and that's what I'll need to market. In an organization based on Teal principles, they all have to have specialized competences, but they'll also need to be able to communicate that. And they'll all need to be flexible. So they'll have to have some sort of generalist in them. They'll have to be able to learn from their mistakes, they'll have to be able to communicate, and they'll have to be able to solve problems that lie outside of their comfort zone. Because in a Teal organization, you can't just do one thing. It's extremely hard to get a work in an organization that has no leader if you only know how to do one thing. You might be brought in as a consultant, but you probably won't be part of the organization full time. What I think is important for individuals in the future of work is that humans have this innate need to know what they're good at. We all need to know that I'm capable of fixing a microwave. I'm capable of changing the tires on a car. I'm capable of running the whole procedure of recruiting to an organization that I don't know. We all need to know what we're good at, but we also need to be able to do several things. So in the future of work, we'll have to be generalists, but we'll also have to be specialized in order for ourselves to know what we're good at. We'll need to dig into our interests and become particularly good at some things in order for ourselves to be able to market ourselves. The takeaway for you, and the takeaway that I'd like you to have, is the question, what do I want to do? What do you want to be able to do? And what would you like to be able to do? Because in the future of work, of course, you'll need multiple skills, but you'll also have to be prepared to do something quite narrow. And in order for you to survive and for you to thrive, that needs to be something you like to do. So, what is it that you want to do? What kind of work do you want to do? And how would you like to do it? Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you found it in any way helpful, useful, or thoughtful, please share it to someone you think will feel the same way. And until next time, take care.